Okay, so tomorrow I'm getting the KDMAX Tune on my 22 Tacoma Sport access cab, and I'll tell you why I'm getting it. And I wanted to shoot this video the night before just to show I'm going to do a 20 to 60 time and see how many seconds it is, and then tomorrow after I get the tune I'll do another and see if it's any better. I've been talking to this guy I found on their website who does the tri-state area. He's coming to me tomorrow morning. He's charging me $450 to do the tune. He said, I asked him any questions, and he said that it's going to add approximately, according to him, about 29 horsepower. I forget how many foot-pounds of torque. It's not that much. I think maybe 16 or 17 foot-pounds of torque it's going to add. And I asked him, you know, apparently he has a 21 Tacoma that he did on his, and I guess he got licensed, I guess, through the website. It's my understanding. I can ask him more questions tomorrow that I guess you can buy the software and become licensed to do this to other people's vehicles. I'm not really 100% sure about that, but he said that it's not detectable by the dealership unless they dig really, really deep, because I would imagine that this would void your warranty. My truck only has 6,000 miles on it, so it's broken in enough, but my feelings of the truck is, I know it's got a 6-cylinder in it, but sometimes it acts like it's got a 4-cylinder in it. And it's like, you know the truck has decent power, but I feel like Toyota, and I'm not blaming Toyota on this, I feel like the government restrictions made them kind of neuter to the truck. And they say that the transmission is adaptive. It learns the way you drive, and it eventually adapts to how you drive. I don't know how much that's, you know, true or not. It hasn't been my experience to really notice any difference in the miles that I've put on my truck. But I have to ask him tomorrow, because apparently once he does the tune, that process restarts. It's my understanding that, you know, it takes, I would guess, a couple thousand miles for it to figure it out again. But my experience with the truck is that it goes fine until it hits third gear, and then once it hits third, it just like, it falls on its face, and it feels like somebody took the 6-cylinder out and put a 4-cylinder out, and unless you push the pedal down more, it kind of just dies out after third gear, and it's really annoying. Now, I live in an area that's pretty much flat, so, and I haven't towed anything yet, so I imagine if you live in an area that's hilly, or if you tow, that it's probably even exaggerated, the gear searching that the truck does, and just the way that it behaves. So my hope is that, you know, I originally looked at the pedal commander, and that was 300 bucks, and that just changes your throttle response. I don't believe that adds any horsepower at all. It just changes the way it plugs into your throttle, and there's like 13 different settings you can do to change the way your throttle response is handled. But apparently the tune not only does that, but adds the power. So for another $150, I didn't want to waste my money on a pedal commander when I could get the tune and have, you know, the increased power to go along with the throttle response being better and the truck being less likely to search for gears. You know, it seems to me like it's trying to get better gas mileage by upshifting a lot, and it's just, I had a 2002 Tacoma pre-runner, and that truck was fine. It didn't have any of these issues with the searching for the transmission. It had a lot less power, but it was more functional to drive around, you know, because it didn't have all this, you know, I guess software that Toyota had to put in there to do this. So that's my hope, that, you know, that I'm gonna have a big improvement here. And I know that I also asked him, you know, will this be noticeable by the motor vehicle when I go through inspection? And he said no, that he's been through inspection, it hasn't come up, it hasn't been an issue, and his truck has passed inspection. So, you know, when you do something like this, you're always like, let's hope, because, you know, you don't want to spend all that money and then later on down the road find out that you're going to fail inspection, or your dealer's going to get a hold of it and go, what did you do to it? Or even that the dealer might put it back to the factory settings. You know, I go in for, let's say, an oil change, and they go, oh, you know, your ECU got scrambled, so we had to redo it. I think it's a little far-fetched, but it's something that I think of. That's the kind of crap I think of. So, but I'm going to find a spot here where I can do a 20 to 60 full throttle run and time it and see what we get on stock. All right, let's get her to 20. 20. All right, so we got 6.39 from 20 to 60. And I haven't been, I'll do it again somewhere else, we'll find another spot. I haven't been disappointed with the power when you punch it. When you really nail it full throttle, yeah, it goes, and the horsepower shows up. It's everywhere in between where you're like wondering, you know, what size engine's in this truck, you know. I will say the miles per gallon and the computer that shows your miles per gallon are pretty accurate. I've been getting about 20.5 miles per gallon, and the computer's been telling me that I've been getting 20.5, and I've been filling it up, doing the calculations and doing it manually, not just relying on the computer. But they do sync up pretty good, so I'm kind of happy about that. I also asked him, will I see an increase in miles per gallon, and he said it's not really likely, but maybe 1, maybe 2. And it's all going to be how you drive it, you know, especially if after you get more horsepower and more responsive throttle, are you going to drive it faster? Because it is faster. So that's going to come into play too. But I usually just drive, like I said, rural, flat roads, and I'm getting 20.5. So I'm going to get up here, I'll find another spot, we'll do another run from 20 to 60 and see what that shows up as. Okay, 6.57. So averaging between them, let's call it like 643 maybe for 20 to 60 at full throttle, which isn't bad. I'm not disappointed in that. I'm glad I'm going to have some more horsepower, but this is not bad at all. Concern of mine was what happens if I get the tune and then later I put an exhaust on it, because I'm looking at an exhaust and I'm looking at not a cold air intake, but I was just going to replace the air filter with maybe a K&N. I might do a cold air intake. I haven't read really any, you know, K&N claims all kinds of crazy horsepower numbers, but I've seen videos where people do them on the dyno, and it's not really that much that you gain. So I could be wrong, but just for the fact that I wanted to know, do I have to do the mods first before he does the tune? You know, if I do the tune now and then add the mods, will I have to retune later? And he told me it doesn't matter. The only thing that affects, you know, that I would need to do a retune is if I went with 33-inch tires and I re-geared. Then I would need to retune again. Now, as far as that goes, I don't know if he mentions, or if he's going to say it's going to be another $450, or if there's some kind of discount where you already got the tune and just for him to come retune, it would be considerably cheaper. That's what I would hope for. I wouldn't want to have to pay, you know, another $450. Now, granted, I'm not going to do that because I like the gas mileage being better. My 2002 Tacoma got like 16, 17 miles, and that sucked. And with gas prices, you know, continually going up, I'd rather keep the good gas mileage. I don't really go off-road this much. You know, I will go into sand washes and stuff, but nothing radical. Driving in the snow, maybe a little bit off-road, nothing crazy. There's no giant hills around here, or rock crawls that I'm trying to do. So other than that, I don't see the need. It's like you have to make your truck for what you want. If you go ahead and build this crazy truck and you're never going to use it for what you build it for, that's kind of a waste of money. You know, okay, you got the look, but you know, you killed everything else. So I'm not going to do that, and I've got a direction that I want to go with this truck, and I want to keep it simple, you know, but I definitely need to fix some things here and there. So, you know, I'm happy with that, you know, I can get the tune now. I'm gonna put the exhaust on it. I'm gonna get one that's not super loud. It's not, you know, annoying the neighborhood. I just want it to be a little deeper, you know, or I'm looking at the carbon exhaust, which I think is probably what I'm gonna go with, and that's like about 500 bucks. Not sure if that's really going to add any horsepower or not. It's probably just going to change the sound a little bit. So to me, this is like the legitimate first good mod to do. You know, if you're going to spend some money to get some more horsepower and to fix these transmission shift issues and to fix this throttle spot. So tomorrow I'll reshoot again, take it out. I'm hoping, I'm going to ask him when he comes if he minds if I shoot him doing the tune, you know, and asking him questions. And if he agrees, I'll put him in the bid too.
Yeah, let me put this away and then we'll go for a test drive.
Oh, cool. That was quick.
Can you feel it in the throttle?
A little bit.
Yeah. I can bump you up to sport, so.
What usually happens is when I'm just driving normal, first and second feel strong. As soon as it hits third, it's like like somebody put a four-cylinder engine in my truck.
Yes.
But you said 2 tanks of gas before it's totally dialed in.
Yeah. You should feel it right away, though. It has to, like I said, it has to learn you, and it has to learn the new tune.
It held that gear longer.
Right.
Seems like it's holding every gear a little longer. Do most people notice the horsepower increase, or is 20 not that much in a vehicle that weighs this much?
I think they do notice it, but I mean, I tell people, it's like, listen, man, I'm not a Mariana Andretti. I can't, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't tell. I do feel an increase. Like it does get up better than it did before. I assume that's where it is. And especially when you're going up the highway and you really want to pass somebody. Like I stopped using that ECT button altogether.
Yeah, I had tried that because I was like, well, maybe that'll fix my problem, because I knew it was going to hold the gear a little longer, but then it wouldn't let it go into overdrive. And I'm like, oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah. And I was never a big fan of using that anyway, because that ECT button them putting this in here is them admitting that, oh, we did something wrong. Yeah. That's how I look at that ECT button.
Well, I actually had that in my 2001. I had that button.
Yeah, they said that was also in the first gens. So yeah, but the second gens didn't have it.
No?
No, they didn't. I had a second gen. I had an 08, and that had the 4.0, and it also had a different transmission. And like I said, knowing how that truck drove, I don't think I've tuned numerous second gens. I wouldn't have tuned that because it drove fine to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's what my wife asked me. She's like, I was trying to explain to her what this was, and she said, well, did your old truck have this issue? I was like, no, the 2002 that I had was fine. It drove like it should. Never had an issue.
Well, these tunes were created for the third gens, and then
you've gone backwards since then.
Yeah. They've morphed into covering. We can do Tundras. We do 4Runners.
Oh, okay.
We do some Sequoias. We do FJ Cruisers going way back, you know? Yeah, so, and then we can also do certain Lexus. But they're all Toyota from KDMAX.
But the third gen Tacoma is the one that had the transmission.
It was the one that started it, yes.
Because of the...
And everyone has that problem with the 15s. You know what I mean? It's just something with that ECU. It doesn't like it, but once it takes it, it's fine. Going to test drive, it's fine.
Now, if you change it to sport, does it hang? Does it rev up even higher?
Well, no. All the sport does is it changes your throttle response.
Just the throttle response.
The light, normal, and sport, it changes your throttle response.
Do most people find the sports too touchy? And you find most people...
They used to. Like the 9.0, you have the 10.0 tune now. The 9.0, I was driving light because it was... Every throttle response was touchy. It was like it would jerk your head back.
Okay.
And I actually put mine on light after a while because I couldn't. My wife couldn't take it. She couldn't take it anymore. The tune, the 10, they smoothed it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This feels more like my 02 now.
Okay.
The way that the revs, you know, hold higher.
Yes. I mean, I stopped using cruise control on mine altogether when I first got it because we would go down to the beach, and going down 55. That's how we go to the beach.
Yeah.
And you know that road; it's a 65-mile-an-hour road.
Yeah.
I'd set the cruise for 70, and I'm going up a 2% incline, and that truck would go from 6th to 5th to 4th to 5th to 4th. I'm like, holy cow! This gear hunting thing is no joke. It really does do that. And then I just stopped using cruise control altogether, and now the tune is fine. Once I got it tuned. It doesn't do that. I mean, it's still going to downshift on inclines, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was outrageously downshifting. I turned everything off in here. I turned this off too just so it doesn't draw any voltage when I was tuning. So I turned your dome lights off. I turned your display off too on your radio. So I mean, try the sport. You got me here, Brian. Use me. That's why this is part of the price you're paying. You know.
Maybe I should have tried the sport first.
Well, I like to try people low. That way, when I put the sport on, then they feel it.
The difference.
You'll feel it. You know what I mean? So
maybe let's do that.
So I'll do that, and then I'll go in and I'll turn the seatbelt chimes off. I got driver's side seatbelt warning buzzer off. Front passenger side seatbelt warning off.
Nice. That was worth $100 right there.
Fair enough.
Okay, take 2 on sport mode.
See that? No seatbelt went off.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh yeah, that's a lot touchier.
Okay, they're good. I'm glad you like it. Yeah.
So the shift points stay the same. It's just the throttle.
All I did was I touched up that just affects your throttle. It's the light, normal, and sport is throttle response only. The tune does the same thing throughout.
Yeah, I'm just barely touching it. That thing's like jumping.
Nice. Yeah, it depends on the driving. Like some people don't like that. You know what I mean? Some people love it.
In a parking lot, you'd have to be a little careful.
Exactly. Even going in reverse.
Yeah.
Like you just backed up.
Yeah. It definitely makes a truck feel like it's got more horsepower when it's in sport mode, that's for sure. And that's just coming out of the development. What did you say, 80% or so would go with normal? There's not too many that pick the sport?
No, it's not even that. It's probably lower than that. A lot of people love the sport. Like people that have bigger tires, like I suggest that because the bigger tire you get, it creates lag on the throttle response. So I tell people with any larger tire, start off at least with normal. We'll go for a drive, and then normally they will go with sport just to make up for the larger tire. And even that, Brian, like if you were to ever get into really modding this and you go 35 or over, call me up. We'll have a special tune written.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
No, that's fine. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, the AGM battery, the re-gearing, all need special tunes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you do anything like that, let me know. You don't have to worry about the exhaust. People get different exhausts. The tune doesn't change. If you change out your cold air intake with another cold air intake, the tune doesn't change.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, a lot of people ask about the cold, like, what about having a cold air intake? I'm like, you have one. These trucks have a cold air intake. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's a factory cold air intake. and I don't think putting another one on does anything for you. It might create noise, might sound better, but from all the research I've done, the general consensus is it doesn't improve performance. It makes it sound better if you're into that, but it doesn't improve performance. Interesting.
I think I'll probably go to normal. I think.
Oh, really?
I think my wife will be,
all right, fair enough.
I think she's going to be like, oh, this is too touchy.
Yeah, at least you felt it. Yeah.
It doesn't seem any different except from the initial, from the start out from a stop is where you notice it. So it's like, I think I'll just leave it in normal.
Okay.
But I appreciate you letting me try it.
Yeah.
Is there ever the possibility that the dealer would get it and say, oh, your ECU's messed up, we had to change it, and then put it back to factory? They would have to ask you before they did something like that.
Yeah, if you ever had something do that, sometimes, like, number one, we tell people, don't tell them that you tuned it.
Don't voluntarily do
because it could void the warranty if it caused a failure, and they can prove that it caused that failure of some sort. Okay, like any other mod will do that. Any mod, if you put a mod in your truck that wasn't a factory mod installed by the factory, if it caused a failure and it can be proven that it caused a failure, it would void the warranty. We just I don't tell people. My truck's been back 1 or 2 times since it's been tuned to be inspected,
and no issues.
No issues.
Okay.
That said, I don't tell them it's tuned. So.
That was another one of my big concerns.
Yes. But you could have something happen to where they need to get in your computer and reset stuff.
And then you lose it.
And and they'll reset it back to factory settings. If that ever happens, just call me and I'll put the tune back on.
Okay.
All right, and no extra charge.
Fair enough. Right? That's awesome. That's customer service right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got the KDMAX Tune on my truck a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna take a little ride, talk about it, the pros, cons, what it did, and give you my opinion of it. So my thoughts now that I have the Tune. I've had the Tune now for several weeks. I've run several tankfuls of gas through the truck, and the price I paid was $450. I believe that's the price that the Tunes are going for right now for the KDMAX. And when I weighed it versus the Pedal Commander doesn't add any horsepower. The Tune does. The Pedal Commander doesn't change the shift points of the transmission. The Tune does. So the way it used to be is third gear would like totally fall flat. And now just accelerating regular, second, holds third to about 3,100, and it still feels smooth and fluid, like it should be. Almost like if you were driving it in a manual, where you would shift at. So when I noticed that it was holding each gear a little higher, I was promised that it would probably get 1 mile per gallon better. Not promised, but mentioned. When I noticed that it was holding each gear higher, I was like, I kind of doubt that's going to be the case, because you're revving your engine at a higher RPM, you're going to be burning a little bit more fuel. So what I found is I've lost about 1 mile to maybe 1.5 miles per gallon of fuel efficiency. I was getting 20.5, and now I'm around like 19. And I'm driving exactly the same places, exactly the same time of year. So, yeah, am I a little disappointed in that? Yeah, because, 20.5 to me was like the minimum that I wanted to get. And to lose any off of that, it's a little disappointing. The plus side was the shift points in the transmission are so much better now. It feels like it should be. But, we're gonna run up here. I'm gonna find somewhere where I can do the 20 to 60 and see if the times have changed. I kind of tend to doubt they will. It was mentioned that I'm gonna get a maybe 20 horsepower gain in the engine, but for a vehicle that weighs this much, 20 horsepower is probably not gonna be very noticeable. So we'll see. I'll get it warmed up real good. We'll do the same 20 to 60 run that I did before, and we'll see what the times look like. I don't know if every representative of their KDMAX tuners do that, but this guy was very, very good at being, you know, cordial and convenient, and on top of that, he was a really nice guy. So like I said, we'll run up here, we'll do the 20 to 60 and see if there's any difference. Okay, let's get her to 20 here. .3, and I'm going to do that again because there was a little bit of a lag there for the downshift. So let me see if we can get a better one with 6.3 for that one. Yeah, here we go with 2. Let's see if I can get this as a better shift. .3 again, 6.34. There's a little bit of a lag there, as you can see when it downshifts before it applies full power after it downshifts the gear. So I don't know if I can somehow get by that or not. Let's get her to 20. See if I can have it hold the gear. That was a little better. So 6.14 with the KDMAX Tune from 20 to 60. That beats the times that I recorded without the KDMAX Tune. I'm doing 20 to 60. I really didn't want to do 0 to 60 because I don't like beating on my truck that much from a dead stop, considering how new it is. But yeah, it does look like the times have improved. And I would imagine that's where you're going to notice it. Only having a 20 horsepower increase, it's going to be like passing people on the highway when you're already at speed trying to pull a taller gear. So in total, would I recommend this? Yes. Would I recommend this over the Pedal Commander? Yes. You know, for an extra 150 bucks to fix the root of the problem and not just kind of mask it by plugging in something to your, you know, pedal that's going to just, you know, change your reactions of your pedal. You know, at least this goes into the program, changes the transmission shift points, and does it, in my opinion, the right way. One thing I have also noticed is that it does keep the overdrive. From what I've seen so far, it won't shift into overdrive under like 49. So that's good, because what happened in previous experiences, like you'd be going, you know, 45, 50, it'd go into overdrive, and then if you did have to pass or you really needed power, it would drop down 2 gears instead of 1. Now it's like anticipating holding that overdrive off until you get rolling, you know, more than, I'd say 50, 55, and then it'll let you go into overdrive when your RPMs are a little bit higher. Okay, so I'll just show normal acceleration here for, this is with the KDMAX Tune. See, once it hits about 50, 52, that's when it lets you go into that 6th gear and it drops down, whereas before it did it earlier. I think it's better this way. But overall, I'm pleased. You know, it was a lot of money, you know, 450 bucks, and you know, you're always worried, especially on a new vehicle, like, is this gonna screw something else up? Is it gonna stand the test of time? You know, it's just a lot of questions it leaves. So far, it's been perfectly fine. There's been no warning lights or anything, and I think I also said previous that the guy who did it also had a Tacoma, had been through inspection twice on his and didn't have any issues. So it's a good deal.